You think executions were brutal? Beheadings, burning at the stake, crucifixions. Forget all that. Ancient Greece invented something far worse. A death so sadistic, it turned human screams into music. This is the story of the brazen bull, and how its own creator was the very first to die inside it. Imagine standing in an ancient Greek city, the sun burning hot on white marble. The air is thick with incense from temples, prayers rising to the gods. But beneath that piety lies cruelty. In the 6th century BCE, on the island of Sicily, a tyrant named Phalaris of Acragas ruled with an iron fist. His people already feared him, but his cruelty would soon become legendary. Enter Perillos of Athens, a craftsman, ambitious and proud. He had an idea, a machine so gruesome, so terrifying, it would keep any subject obedient forever. He forged a hollow statue of a bull, larger than a man, cast entirely from bronze. Its body was smooth, shining like gold under the sun, but its belly was empty, fitted with a secret door. Inside, it was just large enough to hold a human being. And here was the genius, or the horror, of his design. When fire was set beneath the bull, its bronze body would grow hotter and hotter. The victim trapped inside would roast alive, their flesh seared, their lungs burning. But that wasn't all. Perillos, in his wicked ingenuity, designed pipes inside the bull's head. These pipes transformed the screams of agony into the sound of a bull's roar, a chorus of tortured wails, twisted into a grotesque music for crowd to hear. To Perillos, this was brilliance. To Phalaris, it was opportunity. The tyrant saw in the bronze bull a perfect tool, not just execution, but theater. Punishment would become spectacle. Fear would become art. But here is the darkest irony of all. Perillos had built the bull to please his master. Yet, in the end, he would be its very first victim. The day came when Perillos presented his creation. The bronze bull stood gleaming in the courtyard of Phalaris's palace. Crowds gathered, whispering in dread at the sight of it. Perillos, proud of his work, described its every detail to the tyrant. He spoke of the mechanism that turned human screams into animal bellows. He boasted of the locks that made escape impossible. He promised Phalaris that rebellion would end forever, because who would dare resist, knowing this fate awaited them? Phalaris listened, nodding. His cold eyes gleamed with interest. And then he smiled. Such genius, he said, must be tested. The words must have chilled Perillos, but he laughed nervously, thinking the tyrant jested. But Phalaris ordered his guards. Place him inside. Shock rippled through the crowd. Perillos' smile vanished. He begged, protested. Surely this was a mistake. He had built this marvel for his master, not for himself. But Phalaris was unmoved. The inventor was shoved into Bull's hollow belly. The bronze door slammed shut, the bolts drawn tight. Torches were brought. Firewood was stacked beneath. Flames licked the metal, heat spreading upward. And then silence broke into horror. From the bull's mouth came the first sound of agony, not the voice of a man, but the roar of a beast. The crowd gasped, some covering their ears. It was as Perillos had promised. Human screams, distorted into a terrible music. Phalaris leaned forward, listening with fascination. But here lies another twist of cruelty. He ordered the fire to be extinguished before Perillos could die. The craftsman was dragged out, half-burned, choking on smoke, humiliated before all. But mercy was not in Phalaris's nature. The tyrant had only spared him to prolong his suffering. Perillos, the proud inventor, was executed soon after by the very device he had created. With Perillos dead, the bronze bull was now Phalaris's stage. It became a weapon of state, a symbol of fear. Rebels, criminals, even the merely suspected were condemned to its belly. Each execution was a performance. Crowds would gather in the great square. Priests would chant and fire would roar. And as the victim screamed, the bull would bellow, echoing across the city, chilling every soul. Phalaris delighted in it. To him, this was justice made visible, power made undeniable. He once said, "Let them hear the music of their own punishment." But beneath the spectacle lay something deeper. The bronze bull was not only an instrument of torture, it was propaganda. The people of Acragas came to believe that resistance was not only futile, it was a fate worse than death. And yet, even in the shadow of fear, whispers spread. The bull was cursed. The gods themselves, it was said, wept at the cruelty of man. Some claimed they could hear not only screams, but the cries of the underworld. Still, the executions continued, and the legend of the bronze bull grew darker with each victim it consumed. But fate, as always, has a taste for irony. For the tyrant who used the bull to break others would one day meet its flames himself. Power built on fear never lasts forever. Phalaris ruled for years, but the cruelty that had once cemented his throne slowly corroded it. His people despised him. His enemies plotted. Even his allies began to see him not as a ruler, but a monster. Rebellion sparked within Acragas. And when the tyrant was finally overthrown, the mob demanded vengeance. They stormed his palace, tore down his banners, and dragged him into the public square. And there, gleaming in the sunlight, stood the bronze bull. The people had watched countless victims perish inside it. Now, for the first time, they smiled. The same crowd that once trembled now roared with fury. They forced Phalaris inside his own creation. The door slammed shut. The fire was lit. As the flames grew, the air filled with that terrible sound, the sound of the bull's bellow. But this time, it was not a rebel, not an innocent, not a craftsman. It was the tyrant himself. The man who had delighted in the music of death was now its final performer. His screams echoed through the pipes, his body roasted alive. And the people of Acragas watched, not in horror, but in grim satisfaction. Justice had come, not from gods, not from kings, but from a very machine of his own making. The bronze bull had claimed its master. The death of Phalaris did not end the story of the bronze bull. In fact, it only deepened its legend. For centuries, writers and historians retold the tale, sometimes in awe, sometimes in disgust. Some claimed the bull was carried off as a trophy by conquerors. Others said it was destroyed by priests who feared its curse. No one knows for certain what became of it, but its shadow lingered. Roman writers like Pindar and Ovid spoke of it horror. Christian saints compared its cruelty to the tortures of martyrs. And through the ages, the bronze bull became a symbol of tyranny, arrogance, and the inevitable fall of cruelty. Perhaps that is why the story survives. Not because of the screams of the victims, but because of the irony. The craftsman who invented it died inside it. The tyrant who wielded it died inside it. The bull devoured all who touched it. Today, when we hear the phrase the bronze bull, it is not power we remember. It is cruelty twisted into art. It is a reminder that every weapon of terror eventually turns on its master. And maybe, just maybe, that is the truest justice of all.